everybody. We're live. Welcome. We are going to be talking about, what the heck did I title this thing? We're going to be talking about how to turn your expertise into recurring revenue via having a continuity business. And so we have something we want to invite you to, but first we wanted to give you kind of like, what do the steps look like? We're going to reveal the steps one by one, briefly, and then we'll dive into how you can learn more about these steps in more depth. So we kind of started doing this in our Facebook community earlier in the week, and then life happened and we kind of just couldn't get back to it. So we're going to do all of it all together right now. So you might have seen this Geek Out framework. So this is the framework of how to get from, oh yes, we have a dot. I have an expertise. This is like me or you. We have expertise, and this is the bridge getting you to recurring revenue and continuity. So Andrea and I are going to walk through, okay, what does that look like? So I'm going to let Andrea dive into the first step, which is already revealed to us, which is you gotta be a deep expert. So what does that even mean?
Oh man. So, everyone really talks a lot about the importance of finding your niche. And I think for Susan and I and everyone on the Geek team, the people who we love to work with, both in our agency and in our program, are people who they are deep experts. And I don't mean that they just decided to learn something as a hobby, right? No, they have the education around it. They have the experience around it. They spend their free time talking about it. It's a problem that they're just driven to understand. And it's a problem space that they really want to understand. And they've spent inordinate amount of hours trying to understand it. But there's a key difference, because even if you stop there, right, you could go be a TED Talk. You could be a researcher. You could write a book. You could get up on stage, right? You could pass that knowledge in a lot of different ways. But the deep expert that we like to work with are the people who know that the gift that they were given in this passion and in this ability to know this space is the gift of it is really only realized when they're actually able to pass it on to someone else and hold space for that transformation for someone else. That is a totally different version of an entrepreneur. They have a set of values that they don't just want to talk about what they know. They actually care about the behavior change that the people are trying to do with what you're teaching. And so these are the people who we really love working with, and that are just good fits for us. And so when we say deep expert, it's not just the knowledge spot, but it's those who are brave enough to want to actually hold transformation spaces for the people that they serve. And that's who we consider our deep expert. And we just love working with those people.
Awesome. So if that's you, then this is for you. We're talking to you.
Yay.
And chances are you're wanting to turn that into some sort of business, right? If you have that desire, you want to have that turn into a business where you are passing that knowledge on in some way and helping people to go through that transformation. Then this is the framework we've put together that we see works the best for that type of person. So then the next step in that is going to be the middle circle, which we affectionately call Geek Linchpin. So if you don't know what Linchpin is, it's a framework that Russell Brunson has put out. It is an incredible framework. It basically gives you like the blueprint, the business blueprint how to build a business that includes continuity in it. And we have taken that. There was one spot in his framework where we were like, oh, we have an answer for this spot. We know this spot really, really well. And so we're going to add this into his framework and really put some emphasis on it, which has turned into what we call Geek Linchpin. So it's his framework, but we've tweaked it a bit because there's this one in particular space, which is for nurturing our people that we really put some focus on because we think it's like super important. So Geek Linchpin, like having, I don't know, Andrew, do you want to talk more about the differences real quick between like the typical way people put their businesses together when they are going down this path of like, I have information, I'm going to go create a course, to what we're actually teaching and doing ourselves and doing for our clients, which is Geek Linchpin.
Yeah. So I think the biggest difference in well, there's a couple differences, but I think the biggest one is most people who are deep experts, they know like, oh, I'm going to go create a course, but the course doesn't actually create continuity. It just basically creates a transaction, right? And so you work really hard to create one transaction and then you're on to the next launch, right? And that's not a sustainable business model. So we focus really hard on how to deep experts actually create continuity offers and continuity experiences inside of their world. The second thing that we do in Geek Linchpin is the nurture space. So a lot of times what you see out there is they'll say like post out on social and then they'll buy, and that never happens. There's this giant gap that is right in the middle, and that's what we call the nurture space. And so we have very specific ways that geeks can increase their nurture and their touch points in order to lead to better conversions.
Okay. And so one of the things that we help people to do is basically create their plan. There's a few decision points of when you're deciding like how you want to go about installing the Linchpin or Geek Linchpin framework into your business. And we've kind of boiled that down to like what are the most important decisions to make when you're just starting to go down this path of turning your expertise into a transformational experience and a continuity program. So that is a part of what we do to help. Okay, so then the next part of the framework, we're going to go back one step, which is extract and clarify. The reason why we're out of order, by the way, is because this is the order that we go in when you do our challenge, which we'll tell you about in a minute. We focus on creating your linchpin plan first, and then we go to extract and clarify, and then we jump to this one. So even though the framework, the bridge, actually requires you to do it in the order that we're displaying it as, but people like love creating their business plan first. So extract and clarify. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea because this is like her bread and butter. Like Andrea was doing this long before we even created Geek Out and the Geek Out framework. And it is like the most favorite part when people go through our program or through our challenge, which we include this in, or they're working with us as a client and we take them through this extract and clarify process. They're like, oh my gosh, like they already feel like they got what they paid for and then some, and we hadn't even like gotten to the other stuff yet. So tell us a little bit more about that one, Andrea.
Yeah. So this one was a surprise. This is one of those surprise offers that it was just kind of a natural way of going about doing business from, years past of doing more user-centered design stuff. And I wasn't expecting it to be an offer. It was just the normal way of doing business. So, but what it turned out to be is we would get, both Susan and I would get a lot of clients that, would talk about the bro marketing, or it doesn't quite fit for me. Or a lot of times we hear like, that's too salesy, that's too markety, that's not how I want to present that. And, it was a little bit of a question on our part of like, that's interesting, because there's a strategy to marketing and sales and we don't want to dismiss that. But at the same time, I could see it in that, like, it's not, it doesn't feel authentic, right? Is a lot of times what it says. So the extract and clarify is a very specific process where we start with you first and how you express, how you talk, how you want to present. We do that through a lot of very like tried and true research methods. We go through that process to extract that from you. And then the clarify part is now where we say, okay, here's you and how you want to express and what you want to do. But now we have this marketing strategy that's really important that you infuse with, right? So we start with you, and then the clarify is where we actually have a process to infuse your language, your voice and tone, how you want to present with the marketing strategy. And what emerges, like Susan said, every single time, it's almost like we pulled a rabbit out of our hat. Like they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so it's so cool to watch it happen. And yeah, and it just opens up the ability to actually be able to express and message what you want to bring into the world in a way that is both you and backed with marketing strategy. So it's cool.
Yeah. And I think one of the other cool parts about it is like, not only do you feel like whenever we're creating something that we love and we're passionate about, like there's a method out there that people teach and follow, which is great. And it works for them of like, go find a problem, Go find like who's your who, go find who you want to serve, go figure out what problem they have and go like solve their problem, right?
Mhm.
That could turn into something that like you're going and doing something that you really don't care much about. You're just doing it because you're like, well, this is the problem I had identified for these people. So this is, I guess, what my business is going to be. But it's missing the connection between you, your expertise, and how you can serve that group of people in a
Mhm.
problem, yes, that still exists. But I think going through this extract and clarify process is so awesome to see that connection happen, that now you're like, oh my gosh, I want to, like, I love my business now. And not only that, but it is attracting naturally once you figure out how to talk about how you get that clarification, and now you can talk about it in a way that feels good to you. Now you're going to attract the right people to you based on those words. And like, how many times have we seen people where they're doing the thing that they want to do, and they're trying to serve the people that they want to serve, but because they got stuck in this like marketing language, they're not attracting the right people that they actually want to work with, because they're not talking in a way that's going to attract them. I think naturally, if we talk in a way that feels authentic and good to us, we're going to find the people that we like to work with, because they're going to identify with and resonate with those words. So I think this is like such an important piece of it, and so many people skip over it.
Yep.
And yeah, so that is like day 2, and step 1 of our entire program. Like, you already know you're a deep expert. Step 1 is we got to do this. Okay, so then the next piece is journey crafting, and this is also like one of those things where you once you see it, once you like understand it, you're like, oh my gosh, why isn't everybody doing this? It's like, well, because people like shortcuts, and this is one of those things that gets cut out. But if you want to build a business, I'm gonna turn it over to Andrea to explain it too, because this is like in her realm of genius. This is, if we're talking about our individual expertise, journey crafting is Andrea's. Okay, so when people skip this, I see what that turns into are businesses where people are getting burnt out. They're feeling super drained. They're not feeling like they even love what they do anymore. They're getting to that point where, like, we've all heard people say like, I just want to burn it all down to the ground, or I'm just going to build it up and I can sell it and I don't have to do it anymore, right? They don't have a love for their business. And I feel like both the extract and clarify and the journey crafting are the things that make you fall in love with your business, because the journey crafting piece of it is what helps you have such an amazing connection with the people that you're serving, and it helps them to have it helps them actually have the transformation that you're trying to help them to have. Which, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I am actually seeing people like going through what I am telling them to go through, and it's working for them and they're excited about it, that lights me up and makes me want to keep showing up to my business. So, Andrea, what do you want to say about journey crafting?
Oh, so well said. And I think you captured it really well, Susan. I think, the journey crafting, first and foremost, a lot of people think about it in terms of the customer journey and crafting the ideal customer journey, right? For them to be able to get the results, for them to have a good experience, for them to return, right? And that's most of the time that is a huge part of journey crafting. But just like the extract and clarify, every great customer journey starts in the heart and the mind of the creator who made it, right? And that if you don't actually craft a journey that how you want to show up, how you want to guide, the type of guide you want to be, then the journey that you create for your humans is null and void. It's not sustainable. And so journey crafting is this really cool thing where we both look at the creator's journey and the customer's journey. And we look at 6 key variables that allow you to create a really great customer experience while taking into consideration how you actually want to guide and show up. And that is the essence of what journey crafting is. And the coolest thing is that a lot of times, people will say, oh, I just want to create a course, right? And they don't at all think about the experience they actually want to create for their customers, right? They just default to our normal, like, here's a bunch of content, let me info vomit all over you, and then good luck, try to figure it out, right? Well, journey crafting basically cuts through that and says, no, 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 there's actually really great ways to create experiences for people where they can step into what you're wanting them to do, but you have to be really intentional about the type of experience you're trying to create. So Susan and I actually talk a lot about, that those types of experiences, and we have like our big jargony language. But I think that at the essence, it's like, do you want to create an experience that is like a huge momentum and there's a quick win and it gets into your world really fast? Or do you want to create an experience that is just they're a little bit further in their journey and you just want to create amazing resource library for them to be able to access at any time? Or do you want to create something that's more of like a mastermind and we're all getting together and swapping ideas and exchanging ideas and building each other up, right? These are all different possible experiences that you can create in a journey. And journey crafting helps you to be able to determine which one is the best for you and your people and yourself and how you want to run the business you want to run.
Yeah. And then within those experiences, because there's the ones that Andrea talked about and there's other ones, but even within, like, once you know, like, okay, this is the experience I'm creating, it's like, okay, but then what do I put into the experience to actually make that like translate, right? It's like, if I am trying to get them like going through a fast thing, getting them a quick win, what do I insert in there to keep them motivated, to keep them showing up, to keep them like going down the path, right? Depending on the journey and the experience that you're creating, there's different ways to help facilitate that experience. And so that, yeah, I would say that's journey crafting. And it's awesome. Like, it's like, duh, why wouldn't I be doing that? Okay.
And just to give a little sneak peek too, it basically allows you to templatize, but like the good version of templates, not the bad version of templates, your membership builds. So that's just like a little teaser, but it's awesome.
A little foreshadowing there for sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. The last piece is, well, once you've done all of this, once you've got all your messaging, you've infused yourself into the business, you've got your business plan, you've gone and built it, you've infused journey crafting into it. Like, the last thing is to launch, right? So people get to this point and they're like, okay, it's time to launch. Let's throw this out there. And then when it's like, sometimes, most often, if it's the first time they're launching it, it's crickets, or it's not as, it's not up to the expectations that they had. They're like, I suck. I must have done everything wrong. Like, I need to go back to square one and figure it out. Maybe this isn't the right offer. Maybe my audience is wrong. Maybe I'm on the wrong platform, right? Like, all these things start going through our head. And we have very intentionally put in this last piece for the framework to help combat that mindset of like, no. Just because just because maybe you didn't have the launch you had, or you only got 10 people instead of 50 people, like, it's okay, because the next step is we got to learn, and then we go back and tweak and make changes. And so once something's launched, we have subscribed to the idea, we believe, that once it's launched, it doesn't mean you're done. Once it's launched, you need to learn from the data. You need to go back and you might tweak a little bit in your messaging. You might tweak an offer or something going on here. You might tweak a price point. You might realize once you get people into your experience that, like, oh, they're getting stuck here, we need to stick something in there, right? It doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater, chuck everything out the window, and go on to something else because that didn't work. Anything you want to add to that, Andrea?
No, I think that's totally true. And I also think it goes into, anytime that you're really running what's called experimentals, right? So like you're doing A/B tests, or you're trying to understand what worked, what didn't work. I think when we look at launch and learn, you have to put that in the KPI targets in perspective with where you're at on your journey. Right. So like you might hear from Russell or some of the big guys that they can convert a funnel at, 4 to 10%, or they can have an open rate of 70%, or right. Like you might hear these numbers, but that's not realistic for when you're first starting. So we actually have a natural progression of target KPIs based on where you're at in your journey. And we have a way, it's not just the hard numbers. It's also, because remember, you're also maturing in your own journey. So we have a set of metrics for your own assessment based on the targets of where you're trying to get to as an entrepreneur and with your business. And so these are both soft and hard measures that are good for entrepreneurs to take a look at.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay. So now that we have shared that framework with you, we want to invite you, if any of that was resonating and you're like, this is exactly what I've been trying to do. How do I move forward? How do I get to the next step? That is where we would like to invite you to our Share Your Genius with Continuity Challenge. It's happening next week. It is the 20th to the 22nd, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. We spend 2 hours with you over the 3 days. And we basically what we do is go through the Geek Linchpin, help you create your plan, make those key decision points to create a business that's going to work for you. And then extract and clarify. We start the process of extracting out who you are, what your expertise is, and starting to clarify it into language that is going to make sense in your marketing, or to infuse into your marketing. And then day 3 is getting a little taste of that journey crafting side of it. Andrea, do you want to talk about the journey crafting part of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll start to understand and start to be intentional about how do you actually create a journey that's good for both yourself and your people based on what you're trying to accomplish. And so we'll give you the tools to be able to create those journeys, or at least start to craft those journeys.
Amazing. Trying to make that fit the screen better. But there we go. Okay. I mean, because we're like peeking over the, the thing there. Okay. So the link to that is in the description, no matter where you're watching. It is geekoutconnect.com/shareyourgenius. There it is. And it's totally free challenge. It's starting next Tuesday. You can check out this page. You can see, if you're not quite sure if this is for you, check out the section that is, this is for you. And we go through what you get, what we're going to do with you over the 3 days in more depth. You can check that out too. And then if you want to see what other people what their experiences have been, we've got screenshots of people's their Geek Linchpin plans here and what they got out of it. So come check this out and sign up. And then just full transparency, there is an opportunity for you to sign up to VIP on the next page after you register for free, which gets you basically an extra hour of time with the other VIP people to be able to ask us questions. Sometimes we know, like when you're going through a challenge or another event like this, you're like, great, this is awesome information, but like, how do I do it in my situation? And you just have like this question that you need to get answered in order to feel like you can move forward with it. So we are giving you the opportunity to do that as well. You can also there's a way for you to get that completely free. The details are on that second page. So we're trying to make it as easy for you guys as possible. Okay. Any last minute thoughts, Andrea?
No, other than we only open up the doors every quarter. We do that intentionally because we know the way that we want to serve and we want to work with people very directly one-on-one. We believe in a high touch approach. And so it's fun to kind of have been through the last 3 months of the current cohort, and everybody's going across the finish line this month. And it's just so cool to watch. And then the thought of being able to start that cycle again, and spend time with everybody next week is just exciting. So it's a great place to be.
Awesome. All right. Let us know if you're in our Facebook community. If you have questions, you can post about it. You can ask us there. If you're watching on YouTube, we also invite you to come join our Facebook community. If the challenge isn't like the step that you need right now and you just want to like get a little bit deeper into our community and in our world, you can go to geekoutcommunity.com and you can join us there in the community. And we're happy to have you there. Okay. That's it for us today. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.